Okay, we're talking about AI again in this episode, and I hope you guys are ready for this one because we are going to dive in to ChatGPT today. And I want to explore the ins and the outs of this AI model that was developed by OpenAI. I think we need to mention that too. I want to learn how it works, how to interact with it effectively, and that way it will supercharge your content creation. You'll be able to utilize it better. And so let's dive into these secrets because some of them were secrets. They're things that I didn't know about until I started diving into it. So, what is ChatGPT and how does it work? And guys, who better to ask than ChatGPT itself? That is what I did. I interviewed ChatGPT. And so this is what ChatGPT told me. It said, ChatGPT is an AI model developed by OpenAI. It's a variant of GPT, which is generative pre-trained transformer model. Okay, that was quite a lot, which is designed to for generating human-like text based on the input it's given. So what this is saying is that it will generate human-like text based on what you tell it, essentially. So the GPT model, including ChatGPT, works by predicting the next word in a sentence given all the previous words. They are trained on a large corpus of text data, learning patterns, structures, and even some facts about the world from this data. ChatGPT in particular is fine-tuned for conversations. You provide it with a prompt, which could be as short as a single word or as long as several paragraphs, and it generates a response. It does not have access to personal data about individuals unless it has been shared in the course of the conversation. It generates responses based on patterns and information it learned during its training. I like how it says that, during its training. That's something that we're going to talk about more in a little bit. So ChatGPT can be used in a variety of applications, from drafting emails and other pieces of writing to brainstorming ideas to learning new topics and even creating conversational agents. That was a lot of information. So basically that's just saying it can be used so many different places, right? As the training data cuts off, okay, so this is ChatGPT telling us all this, and I'm just going to say, its cutoff date is September 2021. So OpenAI has released several versions of GPT, including GPT-3, which has so many parameters. And then their newest one right now of recording this is 4. So please note that while GPT models are expansive, impressive, and guys, I'm struggling at reading today. Please note that while GPT models are impressive, they have limitations. They don't truly understand text in the way humans do, and they can sometimes write things that are incorrect and not logical. They are sensitive to the input that's given and might generate different outputs based on small changes in the input phrasing. So that's just saying, based off of what you're telling it, it might read it incorrectly. So after all this, I was like, well, how do you interact with ChatGPT? Like, what's the best way to get the best results? And here are ChatGPT's tips. And I dove into a lot of these. So there are, there's 5 tips that ChatGPT gave me with this interviewing that I did with it. And so we're going to go into each of these. So the first one is be specific with your prompts or in your prompts. So ChatGPT generates responses based on the input it's given. Remember, it said that before. So the more specific you are with your prompts, the better the output. For example, if you're asking a question, provide as much relevant detail as possible to guide ChatGPT to more useful answer. So remember how it said that you're training it, it's going to give you outputs based on the training. So when you are giving its prompts, you're training it or telling it what you want. And so number 2 is experiment with temperature and max token settings. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. When I read that, I was like, what the heck is it talking about? And so this is what it told me. The temperature parameter controls the randomness of the AI's responses. A higher temperature makes the output more random, while a lower temperature makes it more, the lower temperature is just like, it could be all over the place. The max token settings limits the length of text generated, which that one doesn't surprise me. I've been utilizing that, but not in the way that this tells you how to do it, because after I read this, I was like, what the heck is this even talking about? How can I set these temperature settings? And so I did some research on it because I asked ChatGPT and it kind of told me like the same thing again. So I did some research on it, I Googled it. And what I found, and this is from, I'm going to link to it below, this is from uxplanet.org. I found out that there are more principal parameters that you can set. So the temperature and the max tokens, those are principal parameters. So we're going to go over 3 of them. There's more than that, but I felt like the three were the more important ones. So we're going to go over the 3. So the first one is temperature, which we've kind of already talked about, and it controls the randomness and creativity of the text generated from a range from 0 to 1. Now, let's kind of quickly break this down. So there's low temperatures, which is the low temperatures is 0 to 0.3, which are more focused and conservative outputs. So they're really going to focus on making sure that they're giving you exactly what you're wanting. The medium temperature is 0.3 to 0.7, which is like the balanced range between the two. And then the high temperature is 0.7 to 1, which is highly creative text, and it could be very random, okay? Diversity penalty is the next one. So diversity penalty, it's a 0 to 2 is the range for this one. And this makes sure that the output is varied, meaning that you have lower amounts of repetitive phrases. The range of the diversity is 0 to 2, like we talked about, where higher in value, the more diverse the text will be, while lower, they'll have more repetitive phrases. So it'll repeat itself over and over again if you're lower. So here's a quick breakdown of those ranges. So low diversity is 0, which means there's no penalty applied and it will repeat stuff if it wants. Medium is a 1, which is balanced. So it's going to have diversity and it's going to have a pretty consistent, not really repeating all the time. And then the max one is 2. And so that's the high one. And that's where it's not going to be varied. Like they're not going to repeat the phrases. So the last one is those max tokens that we talked about again that I want to share. And this is setting a maximum length for the generated text. So making sure that it doesn't go over stuff. So this is very beneficial when you are trying to generate titles for things, because normally there's a title, there's a character limit on things. So this is where that comes in very beneficial in that. So we're content creators. This is all great and dandy, but how does this translate into us? How can we utilize this? So for a blog post, you want a balance between creativity and clearly structured content to keep your readers engaged. So to achieve this, your parameters should be something around this. So temperature should be 0.5 to 0.7 for a balance between the creativity and the structure. Your diversity penalty is going to be a 1 to ensure that you get a varied output without compromising readability. So it's not going to repeat itself a lot. And then your max tokens will be based on how many words that you want for this blog post. You can also do this for a newsletter. So if you're doing it for a newsletter, your ranges might be something around here. So the temperature could be 0.3 to 0.5. The diversity could be 0.5 to 1, and the max token is desired set length of the email content again. Now, this one is for social media. So you're going to want your temperature between 0.7 to not 0.1, 0.7 to 1. And your diversity penalty would be 1 to 2, sorry. And then your max tokens will be whatever the platform's character limits will be. And okay, that's great and dandy because I was like, okay, now I know about these. How do you utilize them in ChatGPT? How do you tell ChatGPT how to use this in a prompt? And so I did some exploring and some testing, and what I found that this did not work in the latest model of ChatGPT, the 4 version. So I don't know if it'll work past any of those other ones, but it worked in 3.5. And so what you do is you're going to write something like this where it says use and then your parentheses temperature value of, and then whatever that value is going to be in our conversation. And then you'll also add into, like below it in the next line, use and then parentheses diversity penalty value of, and whatever it is in our conversation. And ChatGPT will generate an agreement with it if it works. And again, like I said, it will work in the 0.3 is what I found, but not the 4. And so you might be wondering why I didn't set the max tokens, and that's because I like to do this inside the actual prompt. And so that's something else that you could do too in there is inside your prompts, you could tell them specifically, you could tell ChatGPT in like the 4 version, because like, let's be the temperature, right? The temperature controls the randomness. So you could say, I don't want very random, but I want creative outputs on stuff. And it would put that into your formula. So there's ways to get around that too, just as a side note. So I want to give you an example of a prompt that I like to do for this max tokens though, is I like to do, please write 5 compelling titles about, and then whatever idea it is that will hook, and I'll say what the audience is into viewing the content. I want to target these keywords, and I'll give the 3 keywords that I want to target. Each title should be under, and then whatever the character number is, which this is for YouTube, so I say 70 characters long. And then it will generate it for me. So just be aware that like it's not working in these newer models all the time for these parameters, but you can get around it by adding it into your prompts. So make sure that you are just utilize that inside your prompts so that ChatGPT knows where its boundaries are basically. So okay, that was a lot. We're back to the tips from ChatGPT again after that long parameter one. And so this is number 3, and this is use system level instructions. Okay, this was another one that I was like, what does this even mean? So we're going to discuss this in more detail. System level instructions are a way of instructing a model to behave in a certain way throughout the conversation. So it sets a role to guide the behavior of the model. So the behavior of GPT. I feel like I say that wrong every single time. So if you start the conversation with, you are a helpful assistant that always provides detailed explanations, the instructions would guide the model, the AI model, to generate responses that aim to provide detailed responses to align with the role that you told it to. So some more roles examples that you could do is you are an expert on the topic. I want you to act as a blank type of person. You are and then whatever the professional is, whatever type of person it is, whatever it is. So that's examples that you could do. So that's how you start your prompt to get the model into that mindset already. So it's not coming out of like third base with no idea what it's doing, or, it's knowing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. So that is what it recommends for number 3. Number 4 is repeat and rephrase if needed. So if the output is not what you expected or needed from the AI model, don't hesitate to ask for something else or rephrase the prompt. Remember, ChatGPT said that it's giving it off of what it was told, and sometimes just tweaking a little bit of wording here and there will generate a better output for you. So don't be afraid to change stuff. So a prompt that I like to do if I don't get what I want is I say, that's not exactly what I was looking for. Can you write another whatever it is? And then I like to give more details about what I'm looking for to try to help it generate the right content. And number 5 is understand that ChatGPT makes errors, okay? It's not perfect. It's just like us human beings, right? It's not perfect. And sometimes it can make errors. It might generate text that's irrelevant, not correct, and meaningless to you. And so you need to use number 4, which is rephrase or ask for something else so you can generate the correct stuff. So just remember, if you keep getting back like stuff that you're not wanting, you probably need to rephrase your prompt. It's I hate to say this, but it's probably the way that you're talking to the model. You need to change the way that you're talking to the model. So don't think it's ChatGPT. It could be how you're trying to tell it to communicate with you. So just remember, ChatGPT is only as good as your prompts, so utilize it effectively by utilizing these 5 tips that I just shared with you. And I hope some of them were new to you because they were new to me. And yeah, I hope that you found this valuable, and I will be doing a YouTube video on this so that you can see all of this text in more details. It will show up on the screen. So if you want to see this in more details with like some of my prompts that I'm doing and that kind of thing, be sure to check that out. It is going to be titled Master Content Creation with ChatGPT. And that's, yes, you can utilize that. So I hope you found this beneficial because I did. I thought it was really great because if you want to utilize a tool, you need to understand how it works. You can't just grab something and I mean, you can, but are you going to generate as well as you can? I mean, I think of this with DIY and the tools that I use. And when I first started, I started using certain saws and stuff. And then as I went along, I started researching some things and I found out things about saws that, man, if I would have known that in the first place, that would have saved me a lot of time, or I could have done better projects with it. So make sure you look into the tools and try to utilize them the best way that you can. And that's essentially what we're doing today, is just talking about utilizing ChatGPT better. So I hope you liked this video and I hope you have a great day.